Hi, this is Pam with ROC Metaphysical. Hopefully you've seen some of my other videos, but if not, ROC Metaphysical, all one word, is a metaphysical online magazine. And in some instances, I interview contributors or people that are advertising, a variety of reasons. And this time we're going to be interviewing Cheryl, who owns a crystal mine, and I was there this past September. So I had so much fun, and I just thought it would be a blast to talk to Cheryl online so we can know more. I think anybody that likes rocks and crystals would be like, owns a mine? How exciting. I would think anyhow. So how did you come to own the property? And then how did you get the mine going?
Well, thank you for having me, by the way. I appreciate that. And I'm always excited to share our story. We didn't really intend to get in the crystal business, but when we moved here, we were in our late 50s. And so we were thinking, like, we need to maybe start a little business, kind of get us through our retirement years, right? And so anyway, we found this property that we bought, and we were thinking about putting in a campground. And when my husband Orville used his tractor, he was, kind of grading the land and the roads to put in campsites. The crystals kept rolling up. And in our area of Arkansas called the Ouachita Mountains, there's crystals really everywhere. That's the typical geological formation here is quartz crystals. And so anyway, it wasn't like a big deal that we found them, but Orville is kind of an inquisitive, investigative personality. So he actually contacted our state geologist, who came out and did a geological survey, which they do that. And the geologists recommended that maybe we could start a crystal mine where the public could come out and dig crystals. Now, there are other public access crystal mines in the Ouachita Mountain region. And people, just like to go and dig and see what they can find to take home. And certainly quartz crystals are really pretty sparkly gifts. That's for sure. They're not your average rock. So anyway, we had to get licensed to do all this, and we went through that process and got our license, and we opened our mine for public digging in 2012. And because we owned the property, we decided we weren't going to use heavy equipment. We've always had a love and respect for the earth that way, and we just felt like we don't want to tear it up with the heavy equipment. We just want to have just an all natural environment so the public could come, and they dig little holes in the ground. And there's actually a method, which I was surprised to learn. There's a bit of a method to actually identify like a vein of quartz in the ground, and then you can dig there, and that's where you can often find the majority of crystals in the vein, although they're pretty much scattered all over. They really are. Sometimes you can just take a walk and pick off the surface. It's pretty cool.
That's what happened. So
Yeah.
I went to the board camp mine, and it's Mena, I think is how you say it.
Mina, yes,
Okay.
Mina.
And it's kind of out in the middle of nowhere, which was kind of fun, and up on a back road, so to speak. And then we had to drive up a little ways to where your helper was, who then brought us into a very kind of light foresty area where there was
Yes.
already lots of holes from other people who have been
Yeah.
digging. But you're right. I mean, as you walk along, you can see crystals right on top of the ground, either because the rain came through or, people are walking through and digging and the dirt's getting all kind of shifted around. So, I call them like babies, I pick up all these little ones. Or, my friend who was with me, she was like digging to China because she was going to get like a big cluster. And we just had so much fun. And there was other people there all doing the same thing. And we rented equipment from you, and there was a family that came and they brought a pickaxe and some bigger shovels, and they were kids, and they just were having the best time. And I have to say, it was a lot of fun. Everybody was kind of chatting and what are you finding and what's going on. And it was pretty darn hot, I have to say.
Yeah. Yeah, it still was. It's definitely a treasure hunt. And,
Oh, for
I
sure.
think that's the best way to put it. You don't know exactly what you're going to find, but you will find sparkly rocks and you can take everything home that you find.
Right, that's right. Because at the end, we came down and then we had everything in our buckets, and then you weigh them because you have to quantify or qualify what we're doing, and to make sure we follow all government rules and regulations.
Yeah, gotta do
Yeah,
that.
yeah. So, I mean, we had quite a bit. And what was interesting, where your mine is, some of them were more milky, is how you would
Mhm.
refer to them. And they kind of, if you polished them out, it would remind me of like a marble countertop.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of white, and then there was other minerals that were running through. There was the red mineral that I know you had mentioned that you kind of see in some of the more milky ones. And then there was, regular, like clear glass kind of crystals. So, I mean, it was like
Mhm.
two different kinds that you could get while you're up there digging. And I know one of the things you have done is you have some native people come in, which I think is really great. You want to talk about
Yes.
that?
Yes, thank you. Yeah, we were really amazed that we started to attract attention from the native people, and of course, this was all their land at one time, of course, and but some of the tribes started to come, and they always commended us that we did not destroy the earth with heavy equipment. And we said, well, that's just our belief, our personal belief. I mean, obviously, larger minds are in that business and that's what they do. But, we didn't want to do that here. So the natives, they began sharing with us some of their beliefs as far as like the star people, they call them. And we might call them ETs or angels or something of that nature. And also they believe in the Sasquatch, the forest people. And, they were sharing some of this stuff. And of course, we're kind of in awe about it, not having really discussed this before. And hey, well, it's cool that they believe that, right? So, but anyway, we felt very blessed. And many of them talk about blessed. Many of them told us that when they went crystal digging, that they did a little ceremony, perhaps, or some way blessed the land here, and they even called it sacred. And that was very humbling to us. It really was, very surprising and very humbling that they would go that far to say that about the land here. And
Well, I think it's
anyway,
a fair, you're thanking for the gifts you receive,
yes,
So, and I've been where ceremony they give tobacco or, um, I think corn and different things when they're giving as a recognition as what Earth gives to them. And,
yes,
and we
yeah.
are. I mean, we're walking away. I mean, I probably had like 5 pounds of rocks, and I think my friend had like 10 or 20, or it seemed that way
Right.
anyhow.
Yeah, yeah. And
So
and that
then,
is, yeah.
so then you have all the crystal stuff going on, and then, so I guess we'll reference the videos that I saw, which kind of made me want to come to your mind, was the floating rock,
Yeah.
and then the other one where the rocks are moving around.
Right.
Well, and I'm like, what's going on with that?
Well, like I said, we opened the mine in 2012 for public digging. Oh, and by the way, we are closed in the winter. We decided we were only going to be open 8 months. And being closed in the winter, those 4 months, it allows the earth to rest. And that was something that we were really convinced of, that was important. And again, like you said, it's that idea of not taking, just not exploiting the earth, just taking what the earth will give us. And so anyway, we it was actually, well, we excuse me, I'm trying to straighten out my thoughts. We opened in 2012, and everything, I always say life was just kind of normal for us at that point. You know, we opened every year for the digging, closed in the winter for 5 years. Then on February 18th of 2017, we experienced what we call our first sighting, paranormal sighting. And what right behind me is a depiction of what that sighting was. And that particular night, now that's not a photograph, but that's just because there's no way we could take a photograph of this event. But that night, my son came to visit. We were outside looking at the stars, and it was a lovely night. And all of a sudden, on our property, on the next hill, the horizon appeared, like glowed white, and these 3 huge beams of light appeared. And they shot, well, we thought they shot up. So they appeared to shoot up about 300 feet in the sky, way above the treetops, as you can kind of see there, see where the tree line is, and they shot way up. Well, the beams only lasted about 8 to 10 seconds, and that's why we could not get a photograph. And we were just too stunned because we live out, you know, in the middle of nowhere, basically. There is a highway, you can get here, but, you know, we're not near any cities, large cities at all. And so anyway, of course, we were astounded, like, what caused that? You know, there's no, those are like commercial spotlights. There's no way that could happen on our property. Someone would have to drive in here with a huge truck. And so anyway, it was late and we went to bed that night. But the next morning we decided we're going to walk up to that hill and just check it out to be, you know, maybe there is some evidence of human activity but we couldn't believe that there would be, because our property is pretty private. So anyway, we walked up there the next morning and we didn't find any evidence of human activity, but what we found was all the metal objects were affected. So fence posts that had been straight up and down to the ground are now leaning. We had a huge metal sign that was posted on a metal gate, and it was totally toppled over. And in 5 years, the wind had never even toppled that sign over. So to see that toppled over, we were really shocked. And there were some metal tools strewn around. So anyway, who are you going to call? We didn't have Ghostbusters' phone number at the time, so we called a friend who knew about MUFON, the Mutual UFO Network. And we never heard of MUFON because we didn't follow that UFO stuff. We really didn't believe in any of that. That was just on TV up until 2017. So anyway, our friends asked us, you know, the MUFON people, they would probably like to interview you about, you had a sighting. And we're like, really? Oh, I don't know, you know, well, if they want to interview us. So they did. They called first, got our story, and then asked if they could come and investigate on our property. And we're like, well, I guess so, you know, if you want to, maybe you can figure out what those beams of light were, because we are curious, you know, to find out. So they came and they had what was called Gauss meters, GAUSS, which measures magnetism. And so they turned on these little electronic machines and they held them up to the fence posts and the big metal gate that had fallen over, and they're getting these super high readings on these little machines. And these MUFON people are all excited because they said, this is physical evidence that something happened here that was abnormal. So they suggested to us that those beams of light did not shoot up from the ground. They suggested that a craft came and hovered over our property, and the beams of light were being shot down from the craft, and perhaps they were even harvesting crystal energy. And of course, you know, we're like, that's a very interesting, but yeah, that's kind of silly, really. So that was just hard to believe. So if we had never had another sighting, then we would have just shrugged our shoulders and gone on. But after that, we started noticing that rocks were being moved around on our property. And it's like, why would someone come on our property and move rocks? And so my husband Orville set up a game camera, and in this particular area, which we now call the event site, because that's where we had the sighting of the beams. So he set up a game camera and let it run for a few days, whatever. And we, of course, checked the SD card, and we were totally shocked at the pictures that the game camera took. This was not a video. This was just, single pictures. And it showed rocks being moved from one location to another in each frame. And it also showed one rock particularly just hovering above the ground, maybe about 12 to 18 inches. And when we saw that picture, we couldn't even believe it, of course. Like, what? It took a picture of a rock. Why is that rock floating above the ground? That's ridiculous. That doesn't make sense. So anyway, like Pam said, you can access our website. We have a YouTube channel. You can click on YouTube and you can see some of these pictures that we got from our game cameras that shows rock levitation and rock movement. And like I said, we were so astounded. There was no way we would even begin to believe this, except here's the evidence. And so after that, we started seeing orbs of light. And of course, the native people, they're still coming and sharing with us, and they believe that the orbs could either be like human spirits or spirits of animals or even the trees. And we're just astounded. We're listening very carefully. We're wanting to find out about this. And so we were learning, and they were lovely to come and share with us about their insight on some of this. And so it was still hard to believe that that was a spacecraft or an alien craft or ETs or however you want to define it. And then finally, some of the natives began to teach us more about Sasquatch. And they started to show us signs of Sasquatch activity in our woods. And if you Google, Sasquatch, signs of Sasquatch in the woods, if you Google that, you'll find there's quite a number of signs. The most predominant are, they call them stick glyphs, where maybe right in the middle of a path, there will be an arrangement of sticks from the trees, branches or whatever that had fallen. And just unusual patterns that those branches didn't fall out of the trees and form those patterns.
Yeah,
they were
actually,
deliberate.
when I was staying in Hot Springs, Arkansas, I watched a Bigfoot hunting show, and I never had seen this before, but they take like two little baby trees and somehow they're put together. They're crossed. Like it looks like if a Native American person was starting to build, some shelter, that these trees would be crossed over together. And I had never seen or heard of that before. I thought, and something about, taking like a stick and knocking on the tree. Like, they're sending, SOS, like you're knocked three times and, I can hear you and maybe I can determine where you are based on how far, how close the sound is. And that was another thing that they had taught me.
Yes, and we began to experience that. And like the tree knocks, for example, like we would hear bang, bang, bang. It was out in the woods somewhere. Then we started to do that, take a piece of wood and bang on a tree here in the yard or whatever. And, not all the time, but once in a while we would get that knock back. And it's very shocking, completely shocking. It's like you said, it's kind of like this. Could it be Morse code? I don't know, but it's only 3 bangs. That's all that we've ever experienced. But to get us, to get that back, in a response, that's pretty amazing. And also the tree arches, that may be what you were trying to describe. When the natives took us for a walk in our woods, like I said, we saw the stick glyphs that are mostly just laying on the ground, an arrangement of sticks. And then we saw the tree arches. So in other words, 2 small saplings would be grown up maybe 12 to 20 feet away. And somehow they took the tops of those saplings, which are at least 20 feet up, and brought them together and wove them in a way so they wouldn't pull apart. And here we have an amazing tree arch. And we were just astounded, of course, when the native people took us for a walk in our woods and showing us some of this stuff. Or perhaps one single tree, like a sapling, like the top of it would be bent all the way down to the ground and then a big boulder stuck on it so that it couldn't bounce back up. And we decided we were going to try that. And I challenge anybody, reach up as tall as you can, and grab a little 1-inch sapling and see if you can bend the top down to the ground. And they are very strong. In nature made them that way. They are totally strong. You just can't do that. And, in and of your own strength, you'd have to use some kind of machinery or something. I don't know. But anyway, so yes, the natives were showing us, and they were telling us this is signs of Sasquatch. Now, just like the ET idea, we were a little shocked to think that, 12 to 20 foot Sasquatch, I don't know. But anyway, it's a little overwhelming to think they might be roaming around in your neighborhood, right? So, but anyway, we have actually we've had a few sightings, and it's not like they walk right out of the woods and want to shake your hand. I don't know how I would react to that. But in our experience, we've never felt threatened. We've been startled, but never threatened. And so we have come to, I guess, coexist with them. And they just, they haven't attacked our house or anything like that. You hear a lot of stories about that, the negativity that some people have experienced, and they're quite frightened about it. And of course, I don't know if that's just kind of like a Hollywood thing to sell a show or what, but in our experience, we have not experienced that. So we're thankful.
You haven't seen one per se, but I think Orville said that he casted some footprints.
Yes, we certainly did. It was very shocking to find the footprints, I have to say. And probably over about the last 5 years, I would say, we're probably up to about 9 or 10 prints. Wow. And we were, I remember the first one was about 13 inches in length. You could see the toes. And it was just amazing. And it was our ground here, as you can imagine, is quite rocky. So for something, it would have to be very heavy to be able to make a print in our soil that's very rocky, plus the toes even, to have the toes imprint in the rocky ground like that. And so anyway, to us, presence, their existence. And I don't know, it's such a mystery. It's such a mystery. But our whole cosmos, I call it God's great creation, really. It's a mystery. We humans know a drop in the bucket about our cosmos, and right. What could possibly be living on other planets. And I think we're trying to find beings kind of like us that breathe oxygen and all that kind of stuff. But hey, maybe there's other beings that were created on other planets and they don't need oxygen. Maybe they live on whatever other gases are out there, hydrogen. I don't know. We're just trying to compare with us.
I mean, and I mean, until you really see one, we can only guess if they, about their existence. But where do you live? I mean, it's very remote. I mean, if people go and look at a map, and, we were at Hot Springs and we drove about an hour or more to get to where you are. Yeah. And it is way, 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 way out in the country. And it's like, I think there's that road that goes past your mind that you got neighbors have 4 or 5 miles down that road because we went too far. And there
Okay.
was
Yeah.
some cows and some farms and stuff going on back there. But I don't think any of those people have the equipment to make, those lights happen in the sky, nor do
Right.
I think they care to. I think they're just going about their regular business. And
Right.
have they ever said anything to you about seeing anything or?
That's a great question. As far as our immediate neighbors, only one has actually come forward and said that has seen orbs of light, the little round balls, and he's seen them outside and even inside his house.
Hmm.
And of course, we've you get to know your neighbors, especially around here. This is country, and people are friendly generally. Um, and but honestly, our other neighbors have not come forward to share anything. And when I meet people that live in our area, I do ask them, have you seen any unusual lights or had unusual experiences? Because I just figure, hey, if they did, and they know that we did, maybe they'll share. And that's kind of what's happened. I have met a few people, other people who live in our county, not necessarily immediate neighbors, but they actually confessed to us that they've seen some weird stuff in the sky, the night sky. And for example, we've seen some of this stuff too. So we're sharing the same story, which means, that our sightings are valid, in my opinion. But, you're looking up at the sky, the stars, and all of a sudden, there's a star-like thing that's kind of moving along. And of course, now we recognize that as a satellite, a man-made satellite that was shot up in the air. And then, what communications, whatever those are for. But as it's moving along, and you're like, oh, look, there's a satellite. But all of a sudden it flashes at you and disappears. And then you're like, I guess that wasn't a satellite, was it? Or perhaps it's moving along and then all of a sudden it makes an abrupt right angle turn and takes off. Okay. So anyway, we have seen that actually numerous times at this point in the last 6 years since all this started. And we have talked to quite a number of people that live locally or even not that live in other areas that have seen that phenomena as well.
Well,
So,
and where you told me too. I mean, people are a little more conservative where you live, and they
yeah.
have religious values, and so
Sure.
either they don't feel comfortable in speaking about it, or
Right.
they just are like, no, it doesn't exist because this is the world works like this, and they
Right.
just one way of seeing things, which is fine.
Right.
No, not gonna, fault them, but I mean, I think it sounds
Right.
like almost like it's like Disneyland on your property. Like, you've got fun digging of crystals, then you've got floating rocks and rocks that move around where we can't see why they're moving. So it it could be like it's magnetized, or there's something, emitting something that's making them go up or pulling it up, or
Right. And I've always said, Orville and I mean, we believe that paranormal basically is science that has yet to be discovered. I mean, we believe that, sooner or later this is going to be figured out. Somebody's going to invest the time and money and come out here or go to another paranormal hotspot and be able to do some experimenting or whatever. But so we do believe that and there's actually a very good scientific explanation if somebody could actually come out and prove that, and that is the quartz crystals. They have, I guess, an electromagnetic field. I mean, somebody figured out that they could tell time. When I grew up and I heard about quartz watches, I just thought it was, like a name brand. And then I got older and I'm like, what? That's actually crystals? And now they run our computers and they made crystal radios. They transmitted sound. I don't know if they still use those. I think there's still crystal radio clubs around, but I think our military used them at first, maybe back in World War I or something. But anyway, it's like crystals do have physical properties that somehow this electromagnetic field is created. So since we have an abundance here in the Ouachita area, is it possible then that the electromagnetic field of the crystals is somehow interacting with the field of the earth, or maybe the sun rays coming down, or I'm not familiar with science. I never paid that much attention in school, I admit, but science wasn't really my thing back then. But anyway, so I think there could very well be something physical happening that creates the beams of light as well as the orbs of light. And I do believe in the spiritual realm. I believe in Creator God. I call him God. I know people have words, and it's words, but I do believe that we have a higher power. And there's really too many mysteries in this life, I believe personally, that it wasn't just up to probability how really perfect life has formed on Earth, but in this amazing creation here and all its mysteries, like quartz crystals. It's amazing to think how all of this can act and interact together and produce this phenomena that we as humans still don't understand. I like to use the analogy. I can't think of the name of the people that first created the microscope, but can you imagine when they first looked through that little lens and they saw maybe some bacteria running around on a slide? I mean, what would they say? Like, oh, aliens? I don't know. Definitely something they couldn't explain.
Right.
So
yeah,
it's kind of
a good
like
analogy. But I
yeah.
think it's fun because you don't know, we don't know, and it is fun to have a mystery.
Oh yeah.
To try to figure it out, and you have different things happening. Different. The floating rocks and lights in the sky, and so it sounds like you never know. What could happen next at your property. And then
Right.
all the fun of people coming to dig and talking to people from all over. And then you had, you can't see the word unexplained, but I know that you had the unexplained people come, and they actually did an investigation. And talk a little bit about that.
Okay. Now, are you talking about the ones that came and filmed? Okay. Of course, when after the MUFON people came and left, and the Travel Channel contacted us because they heard our story from MUFON. And at that time, Josh Gates and his show Expedition Unknown, they were in the middle of filming a series called Hunt for Extraterrestrials. So they heard about our story through MUFON, like I said. And I think our story interested them. I think just because we're just like regular people, okay? We're just like nobodies, It's like these regular people who never believe in this stuff, all of a sudden they have an experience. And I think that could have been the initial interest. That's my opinion. And that's true, it's just like, you just go along your life and all of a sudden, boom, you see these weird beams or, and it just keeps going from there. And so anyway, yeah, Josh Gates came out to film our story. And they also invited the MUFON investigator to join them in the filming. And one thing that was really the coolest thing ever was that night, that was actually the one and only night after dark that they were here, there was an actual weird light that appeared in our woods, went like over the trees and through the trees and then disappeared. And they got it on camera. They filmed it. And in the discussion later, they actually, in this series, Hunt for Extraterrestrials, they would try to debunk some of this stuff, which is good. You want to make sure you understand it if you can, and whether or not it's a hoax, of course. So they were talking about that light and could it have been a drone? And it's like, no, because nobody could really fly it through the trees that way at night. And there didn't seem to be any other earthly explanation. So they deemed it a UFO. It was unidentified. It was flying through the woods, and they just happened to get it on camera. So if you do watch Josh Gates' show, it's Expedition Unknown, Hunt for Extraterrestrials, and we're on episode 4, which is called Roswell Revealed, which is like, oh, good. They put us in with Roswell. So
I don't have to look that one up.
Yeah, it's called Roswell Revealed, episode 4 of the series Expedition Unknown, Hunt for Extraterrestrials. And the other episodes are very good too. We watched them all. I mean, they went to Chile and England. They were, investigating the crop circles, for example, and other sightings. So, I mean, it's a great series.
Oh, I'd love to do that work with him too. That sounds like so much fun.
Oh yeah, and he's a great guy. He's really he is an archaeologist by education and trade, and that's his thing, is investigating mysteries. So if you're familiar with any of his shows, they're all good. They really are. So
and because of that, then you at the Crystal Mine at the board camp, you also do a tour when you're open for folks to come out and walk the property and go to specific areas where things have happened. And I know I wanted to do that, but you had something else going on and wasn't offering it at the time.
Right. Well, hopefully next year. But yes, we do have the crystal digging in the day, and then on mostly Friday and Saturday evenings, we host the unexplained tours, so that the public can come and see for themselves. And basically our little, what we tell people is like, hear the story, see the evidence, and then you decide. And that's where it's at, that's all any of us can do. It's like, hey, let's check it out. And then we have to make our own decision. And we may not you really understand or know, but at least, when you see evidence of something, it's interesting. And we have absolute evidence still of the magnetic anomalies here. It's quite shocking. Have you ever heard of a compass? You put it up to a metal pole and it actually spins or changes poles.
Right.
And number one, metal poles, you don't, like fence stakes, you don't buy them from the hardware store magnetized. But we have found over time, all these fence posts, the initial ones that were leaning, when we had the first sighting, that was evidence that was left behind. Those fence posts are still magnetized, and even more so than they were at first. So this magnetism is still somehow in the earth. Our guess is it probably contributes to the quote levitating rocks. How could rocks float in midair or move around? And that might have something to do with their mineral content and how the magnetic field that's coming out of the earth is affecting it. I don't know, that's my my attempt at being scientific, but I'm not very good at that. But I don't know, it's so fascinating. And then we have to perhaps talk about portals. Are there actually ETs and Sasquatch, intelligent entities, that are appearing here or manifesting, or at least leaving evidence? If you can't see them, at least they're leaving evidence of their presence or their interaction with you. It's so fascinating. So really, one of the main reasons we started our unexplained tours is like, come see for yourself, so we're not crazy. Okay, please join us. Okay, I think that's true of all of us. We've been having the tours now going on our 6th year, and we've met some wonderful, incredible people. If people, they can come if they're just curious, but there's they can't explain, or maybe they had a relative that had an experience and they always heard the family story about it and it was never explained. And so it's great that people can come here and feel comfortable about sharing their own stories as well. And we love hearing other people's stories. We really do. We share ours, of course, during the tour, but then when we sit after dark and watched for phenomena. And that's what we do. That's part of the tour is we give an introduction, like I've just been introducing you and telling our story. But then we love to sit after dark and see if anything manifests. And while we're doing that, we just share with each other, and we love it. And
Well,
maybe as we continue to share together, maybe, well, you always learn something. Number one, you learn you're not the only one. So that's
right.
comforting. and it is, whether it be ghosts, Sasquatch, ET sightings, it's just so interesting.
Well, and I think too, where you are, because you're so far out, it's not like you live in Hot Springs where you have lights, from the road and the street, and where you are,
Right.
I mean, it's got to be pretty darn black,
Yes.
so you're not getting any interference. So you could sit up, out back on the hill and, look up at the sky and be able to see, it's probably a beautiful view, to see all the stars and,
It
when it's
is.
a clear night.
Oh, it really is. We do have a beautiful natural view here without that extra lighting, city lights, even in the distance, we don't have that. So it is a great location for sure. So, again, it's just another mystery, which definitely attracts us as humans. We're always attracted to that. That's why we watch all this television.
Right. Well, that's what drew me to come out there, was after I saw those videos, and
Yeah.
um, I've told other people about it, and they're going to check out the videos. So you're open. Was it starting in April?
Actually, we open the last weekend of February, unless it's snowing, and it doesn't snow very much in the winter here. I think a couple of times we've actually had snow on our opening day, and we did not open. You can't dig crystals when there's snow on the ground, but we will open, the very next day that the snow melts, and it actually melts pretty quickly here. It doesn't stay on the ground. We only get a few inches at most, so. I know that's totally opposite of what you get where you are in New York.
True.
But anyway, so yeah, so we try to open definitely the last weekend of February, and then we close the last weekend of October is our last weekend each year. And like, let the earth rest, give it that time to heal itself and to be by itself, so to speak, without all these humans, trying to get there. And we have areas of our property that, talking with the natives and them showing us, they believe they're sacred spaces, and we actually respect that, and we don't go there. There's always a tree or two that you have to cut down. Trees do die, and you need to cut them down so they're not, blowing over in the wind, especially when you have the public here. So, Orville tries to get out there and take care of that type of thing. And forestry management is really what it is. But even in that case, in those particular areas of the property, we have learned, like, that's considered sacred. We were told that, taught that. And so we're going to give them their space. If the entities are coming there, and maybe that's just their particular location or space on the property. So, but, to us, life should be about respecting each other. And that's what we've always tried to do. And I'm not saying that to blow my horn. I'm not saying that for that reason. I'm just saying that the earth would be a better place, wouldn't it? If we all could
For
be a little
sure.
more respectful. And we're human, we get selfish and egocentric sometimes. Yeah, we do. But let's try some kindness. Try a little kindness.
Right. Well, that's a good message.
Yeah.
So
So anyway.
if people, so your phone number is up above. So after, they can call ahead to book, because I know that's what I did, because I wasn't sure, like, how many people would be there to dig. So, and I wanted to make sure that, I had it kind of locked down. But I mean, I'm sure you can, if you had 100 people digging, I think you might be like, wow, that's a little much. But I mean, I think the day that I was there, people were coming and going because it gets real hot when I was there in September. So we tried to get there in the morning before it really super hot. But I mean, people were there before us and people came after us. So booking ahead is good, but I don't think it's required, to dig.
No, not absolutely. But to tell you the truth, we do limit the number of people per day. And that's part of our respect toward the earth. We limit it to 15 people per day, or I should say 15 adults, paid adults. We actually do not charge for children under the age of 16.
Nice.
Kids under 16 are always free. And the reason we do that from the very beginning, being parents and now grandparents, it's like we want families to come together and introduce their kids to nature. I think more kids need to be introduced to nature. And we love that. We love to see families coming out and children getting excited about rock hounding instead of playing video games.
Right. Yep. I know when I was there was probably 6 or 8 kids with their parents or family members. And yeah, they were so excited. I mean,
oh, good. Yeah.
And we were too, because we're like, ooh, we're trying to dig. And we actually got one young man who had that pickaxe to kind of help out and get to this one cluster that my friend was trying to get. Yeah. So definitely call that number that's on the screen behind Cheryl. And you have a website. So Board Camp Crystal Mine is the website.
I was going to say, I think it's on here somewhere, but I don't know where. Oh, here it is at the bottom. I don't know if you can see it, but it's the name of our business, boardcampcrystalmine.com. And we would appreciate it if you check out our website first, and you can make reservations on our website if you'd like. And like I said, we do limit it to 15 adults per day. So now, if you get on there and you try to make a reservation and there's no more reservations, you could call me then and we might let you slip in, okay? Depending on how busy it is. Because there's plenty of days when we don't max out. So I kind of feel like, okay, we're going to get this balance here. We might let a few extra people in on those days that they are 15. To kind of even it out or balance it out with the days that there may be only 4 or 5. But so definitely, if you can't make your reservation online, please give us a call. And you can also text that phone number. It's now a cell phone. So we're gradually trying to get more techie, I guess, is the word.
And I know a cell phone reception isn't always super great out there either.
That's true. So texting, interestingly enough, I don't know why, but texting seems to go through better than an actual phone call. So I don't know. Again, technology, it's a mystery to all of us.
So I mean, once I Google mapped it, it was far, but we got there and it wasn't too hard to find. And, now I know Route 250 and like 3 main roads to get back and forth.
Well, if you go to our website, we do have our GPS coordinates right on there. So plug those in and that should get you here. Although GPS can be a little iffy out in the country as well, but usually it works. And also, if you go to our website, you can find the YouTube link at the top of the first page. And then you can see some of these interesting videos that our game cameras caught of the levitating rocks. It's and some weird lights too. Some weird lights, that we were able to catch. So anyway, I don't know.
I'm so glad we could talk. I mean, I had a great time. You and Orville were very informative. You get equipment. There's certain. You get your bucket and your tools and all that kind of thing, and that you explain how things go. So, it made it really super easy, once we got there. And,
thank you.
It's, and you're kind of in a woody area, so you're not going to be like broiling in the hot sun. And
Yes, that's another plus, especially during the summer months. You can dig in the shade. We have shade trees.
right.
But make sure you bring your insect repellent because mosquitoes like shade trees too in the summer.
Oh, yeah, especially out there. Yeah.
Right, right.
Right. Well, I think, we covered everything, and I'm so happy we got to talk. And, I keep thinking I need to come back. So
Oh, we hope you do, Pam.
you never know when I might pop up again.
Well, I hope you do, and this time that you can schedule, experiencing one of the unexplained tours. So
Oh,
we
I
would
love
we would
that.
love to host you, of course. But I love the fact too that you're doing what you're doing, and you're opening, you're opening up this information, this type of information to the world, and that's important. You're a reporter, and that's important.
Yeah, I just think, open minds. I don't
Yeah,
have to, believe it or not, but you should
right.
go there and see for yourself. So that's
There you go.
right.
Yep, that's
So
true.
I appreciate it, and tell Orville I said hi, and
Sure will.
I'm gonna hit the stop button. So
Okay. Thank
thank
you. And
you.
thank you to all your watchers or listeners or whatever. Thank you.